My friends, welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. I hope you all are doing well. What I have here in my hands is a very large hot tent. I cannot wait to set this up to take a look at it with you all. This is the Dune 2 to 3 person tent. One aspect that's really interesting to me concerning this tent is that it's very similar to the Massive, but yet there are a few differences here that I'm interested to check out. Everyone, I think you all are going to like this tent. I think I'm going to like it. Let's go ahead, let's take a look at it, and let's begin checking it out together. What we're looking at here is the storage bag for this tent. We have 2 grab handles, 2 compression straps, and on the sides we have grab handles. And trust me folks, you will need them with this tent. Here we have a draw pull. And with this storage bag here, basically this is what they refer to as a burrito style storage bag. You have this flap here, it covers it up, you cinch it up, and then you put on the compression straps. It's a really nice system. It's much better than your average storage bag. Also, folks, it should be mentioned that we have setup instructions on the inside of the storage bag. We have tent poles, tent stakes and guy lines. We have the tent inner, and here we have the tent fly. What we have here are 3 extremely thick poles. I have to say, everyone, I'm very impressed with these. These are extremely substantial, and they should be, considering this is a 4th season tent. As you all can see here, the Dune 2 to 3 person tent has been set up. As is, I have not installed the inner yet, and that's because I want to show you all the inside of this tent. With the inner, this is a 2 to 3 person tent. Without it, this is a 6 person tent. I'll be honest, everybody, I did not expect this tent to be so large. I thought it was going to be very similar to the Massive. In ways, it is. But in other ways, it is drastically different. Before we go to the inside of the tent, let's just focus on the outside and go over the features. First things first, we have a snow skirt that goes all the way around this tent. With this tent here, we have 4 doors. 1, 2, 3, and there's another on the back side. Here at the front, we have a door that can also be used as an awning. So if you had poles, you could set this up as an awning. That, my friends, is a sweet feature. This tent comes with 3 poles. There are 6 guy lines. We have a stove jack so that you can put your stove inside of this. And check this out, everyone. On the inside of the tent, there's a silver metallic reflective coating on the material so that it reflects back heat. That way, when you have your stove going inside of this, it's more efficient and warmer. At the front of the tent, at the back of the tent, we have vents. And it does need to be mentioned, with each one of these doors, they can be used as windows. For an example, here at the front, the fly has been rolled up, stored out of the way, but yet we have this big section of mesh. We have mesh at this side, and I believe at the back side too. We'll check on that in just a second. When you're on the inside of the tent here, the features are very basic but very important. You can close the fly if you want to, or you can have the ventilation coming through the mesh. Up at the top, you have access to both vents, so you can easily open and close those, which is important because those vents on the outside are so high, most people will not be able to reach those. Additionally, we have a hook at the very top for hanging. The last feature inside of this tent is the ability to integrate the inner, which I'm going to do now. Installing the inner, it makes sense and it's an easy process. Basically, the toggles match up with the plastic rings in the corners and here on the sides. The front side has less of those. So again, it all makes sense. There's no way to mess that up. With this inner, we have 2 entrances, one at the front and one at the back. On the inside of the inner here, I would say there's enough space for 2 people plus some additional items. You could cram 3 people inside of this, but I don't think you would really want to. What you could also do is 2 people with the inner, 1 person over here. At the top of the inner, we have a ton of mesh. And yes, we do have mesh at both doors in addition to fabric covers. There's only a few more things I want to share with you all before we move over to the stats. The first thing are the doors here on the sides of the tent. Check that out, everyone. How cool is that? Those are the side doors, my friends. The last thing that I want to tell you all before moving to the stats is this. We have an awning here in the front. We also have another awning at the back. Again, this is the 2 to 3 person Dune tent. This is a 4th season hot tent that is also double walled. You can remove the inner if you like to. The tent is freestanding, meaning that you do not have to use any tent stakes for this tent to stand up. This tent features 4 doors, and when it's stored, it measures 24.8 inches long, 11.8 inches by 8.6 inches. When the tent is set up, it measures 128 inches long, 97 inches wide, and it has a peak height of 71.5 inches. When it comes to the weight, you're looking at 16.5 pounds for the full setup. When it comes to the materials, the fly material is a 75 denier polyester with a silver reflective coating. It has a 3,000 millimeter hydrostatic head rating. When it comes to the tent floor, that is a 150 denier Oxford cloth, and that features a 4,000 millimeter hydrostatic head rating, which is the waterproof rating. And just in case you don't know, that is really high. The same goes for the fly. We have aluminum poles and tent stakes. As I mentioned before, this is the Dune 2-person tent. There is also a Dune 3-person tent. How much larger is that tent? Honestly, I do not know. Again, the company claims 2 to 3 people in this tent. With the other, it's even more. I'm assuming 3 to 4 people. This tent does include 3 poles, 14 stakes, 8 total guy lines, the tent inner, the tent fly, and the storage bag. Lastly, when it comes to cost, the 2-person version that you see here is $359 at the time of filming. The 3-person version runs $450. And with all of that out of the way, it's time to go over my impressions of this tent. So are my impressions good? Yes, they are. Folks, I am incredibly impressed with what I'm seeing from this tent. This tent looks amazing. The quality is fantastic. The construction is fantastic. There's no issues when it comes to loose threads or anything like that. The seam tape looks great. Everything about this tent so far has impressed me greatly. I really can't say there's a single issue that I see with this shelter right now. It is so incredibly feature rich. And I do need to mention this. The company calls this a 4th season tent, something that you can use in the wintertime, a shelter that can handle snow loading and strong winds. All of that is true, without a doubt. With that being said though, you can easily use this tent in the summertime because there's so much ventilation. You have so much mesh. It really is impressive. As long as you're using this on a dry day, the ventilation inside of this is going to be amazing. Now, of course, if it's raining outside, you have to seal yourself up. Some condensation will form. That is a very common aspect when it comes to 4th season hot tents. Something else that I find very impressive about this tent is the size. There is so much space inside of this tent. The inner, that's a palace for 2 people plus some additional items and gear. Then you have the living area here. There's plenty of space for a chair, a table, your stove, some firewood, so on and so forth. When it comes to the setup and the breakdown process for this tent, it's easy, but you do have to keep in mind this is a very large tent. So it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of effort, especially when you consider how tall this tent is. I mean, we're looking at 5 feet 11 inches. This is a big tent. And again, it's 128 inches long. The overall storage size of this tent is not that bad, and the weight isn't that bad either, considering the size of this tent. The amount of doors and mesh windows and awnings is very impressive. All in all, everyone, all I can say is this. For my initial preview, my first look at this tent, I am very, very impressed. I cannot wait to go test this out. I think this tent is going to perform really, really well, everyone. Everything about this screams quality so far. And at the same time, everything is screaming a very durable, very tough tent. A tent that can handle strong winds and also snow loading. And that right there is a great place to end this episode. I've done a lot of talking, now it's your turn. Sound off in the comment section down below, share your thoughts. What do you all think about the Dune 2? This is, without a doubt, different than the Massive. I thought it was going to be more similar, but once you get this set up, it is different. Really, really different. The one thing I'm interested to really test out is the silver reflective mylar coating on the inside. I've seen this with other tents, and unfortunately those tents did not perform very well, namely because seam tape had a hard time sticking to that material. Will that be an issue with this tent? I don't know, but I will test that out. If you've enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, hit the thumbs up before you go. It's a great way to support the channel. Also, if you want to support a channel that's agenda-free, a channel that's not selling products, but rather passing on useful, real information, look no further than supporting this channel right here, the Outdoor Gear Review. I really do appreciate it, everybody. You can become a member on YouTube or support on Patreon. Thank you so much. Look at the size of this tent. It's huge. I cannot wait to test this out, everybody. I'm really, really impressed. NatureHike, good work. This looks to be incredible. I will see you all again soon. Strength and honor. Bye for now.